Teuge, mo tavideo. There is a silence so complete it seems to swallow sound itself. Beyond the last trace of starlight, space unfolds, vast, black, unending. It isn't darkness as absence, but darkness as substance, a living fabric that hums softly between the atoms. The kind of quiet that presses against the chest until you begin to hear your own heartbeat echo back at you, slow and uncertain, like a forgotten drum in an endless corridor. The universe drifts without hurry. Wisps of nebulae stretch across the void like pale smoke, shimmering with dust older than memory. Each particle floats in reverence, luminous and weightless, as if afraid to disturb the stillness. Stars pulse far away, too distant to warm, too ancient to name. Their light moves like slow tides through time, fading before it ever reaches the edge of thought. In the observation capsule, the glass dome reflects nothing, only the darkness looking back. You could close your eyes and the view would not change. Inside this infinite hush, there is no direction, no sound, no sense of above or below. The boundaries of the self begin to dissolve, as if the body itself were expanding, scattering, becoming one with the cold ocean of night. A whisper of static cuts through the quiet, faint, irregular, almost shy. At first it could be the hum of the ship, soft breathing of machinery. But then it repeats, a rhythm too deliberate, too alive. A pulse, a heartbeat, but not yours. The navigator leans closer to the console, eyes adjusting to the dim blue glow of the signal. Numbers flicker, coordinates unknown. The sound repeats again, softer now, like something calling from beneath an ocean of stars. The silence returns between each wave, heavier, more deliberate, as though the void itself is listening. Out here, distance has no meaning. Every vibration, every particle, every thought seems infinite. You are a single mote drifting in a sea of eternity, suspended between nothing and forever. And yet, somewhere inside that, nothing, something breathes. A signal, a heartbeat, a distant call that should not exist. And in the endless quiet of space, you feel it answer your own. At first, it's almost imperceptible. A flicker beneath the hum of machinery, a thin thread of static weaving through the quiet. The void itself seems to breathe around it, as though the darkness were listening. Then, the sound returns, soft, rhythmic, deliberate, a pattern hidden in the emptiness. It isn't noise, it's a pulse. The navigator steadies their breath. The cabin's lights fade to a dim sapphire glow, and every instrument hums at the same frequency, a choir of glass and current. On the monitor, a waveform rises and falls, slow and patient, thump, pause, thump, pause, too precise to be cosmic interference, too alive to be mechanical. For a moment, the heartbeat in their own chest matches it perfectly. The pulse echoes again, stretched across light years, trembling through the ship's hull like a ghost pressing its hand against the metal. The sound carries a weight, not volume, but presence. It feels as if something enormous and ancient is out there, exhaling through the dark, waiting to be heard. They adjust the receiver. The signal wavers, almost vanishing, then swells back, clearer, closer. Each repetition sounds slightly different, as though the space between beats were a language the navigator can almost understand. Not words, but longing. a strange warmth spreads behind the ribs. The mixture of awe and dread that comes when the unknown turns its gaze toward you. What could call from such distance? What heart still beats where even starlight has forgotten to travel? The logbook's cursor blinks. The navigator hesitates before typing. Received repeating signal at 02-1307, galactic mean. Origin, uncharted coordinates. Tonal pattern resembles cardiac rhythm. Possible biological source. They stop. The cursor waits, pulsing in silence, echoing the rhythm. Curiosity claws at the edges of caution. Every training protocol whispers to maintain distance, to observe, to stay within the known orbit. Yet the sound persists, threading through thought, tugging like gravity. In the endless night, loneliness amplifies everything, even hope. The navigator replays the signal once more. The pulse seems to change in reply, like a creature aware of being heard. It's slower now, almost gentle. They feel the decision forming long before it's made. Fingers hover over the navigation console. A single command will align the vessel toward the coordinates of that impossible voice. Beyond that path lies nothing on any map, only the unknown. And perhaps the answer to why something still beats in a place where the sun never rises. A tremor of fear surfaces. The primal fear of leaving the last point of light behind. Yet beneath it, a quiet exhilaration, the kind that comes when solitude meets its reflection. Engines ignite with a low, resonant hum. The stars begin to slide backward. Outside, the universe stretches like fabric, threads of light thinning into ribbons. The signal grows fainter, then steadier, as if guiding them deeper into its heart. For a moment, the navigator looks through the glass dome at the endless black, at the shimmering ghosts of nebulae, at the faint pulse repeating somewhere far ahead. It is no longer just a sound. It is a presence, intimate and infinite. The void has spoken, and in its lonely rhythm, the navigator hears something unmistakably human. They whisper into the comm, following the signal, and the ship, small and fragile against a vast ocean of dark, turns toward the heartbeat that waits beyond all light. The engines awaken like deep thunder restrained within glass. A low vibration climbs through the hull, then steadies into a hum that feels almost organic, steady, certain, alive. The stars outside begin to drift, their motion slow at first, then quickening, as if the ship was sliding down an invisible current. The moment acceleration begins, gravity forgets its name. The navigator's body lifts slightly, weightless, suspended between breath and eternity. The sound of the pulse, that signal, beats faintly in the background, a metronome for the journey into nowhere. Outside the dome, the universe stretches. Trails of light bend and twist into luminous ribbons, each star leaving behind a thread of itself. They weave together into a tapestry that flickers and folds, a vast ocean of motionless waves. The ship cuts through them without resistance, gliding on a tide made of photons and radiation. There is no horizon here, no sense of direction, only gradients of darkness. Clouds of ionized dust bloom like slow explosions, painting the void with hues of violet and silver. Radiation flickers across the panels like lightning too tired to strike. Occasionally, a shard of cosmic ice flashes past, trailing a whisper of reflected starlight before dissolving into nothing. The navigator watches in silence. Time dilates, melts, becomes meaningless. The instruments display numbers that no longer seem real. Seconds, minutes, hours, each loses its shape. The rhythm of thought blurs. There are no mornings or nights here, only the constant shimmer of motion and the endless, quiet hum of existence. The human mind begins to drift the way stars drift, without anchor, without clock. Sleep feels the same as waking. Dream feels the same as thought. The voice recorder captures a fragment, traveling through what feels like the skin of time. The stars have become lines. Their light stretches farther than I can comprehend. Maybe this is what infinity looks like. Slow, silent, patient. Outside, solar winds ripple against invisible fields, bending light into ghostly curtains. The ship sails through them like a lantern through mist. Somewhere far behind, the familiar constellations have collapsed into anonymity. Ahead lies a darkness that seems thicker than space itself, a shadow that absorbs even the radiant trails of light. The pulse from the unknown source continues, steady, unwavering, pulling the vessel forward like a thread woven through the heart of the cosmos. Each repetition feels closer now, fuller, as though it's no longer coming from somewhere but through everything. Then, amid the ocean of light, it appears, a single dark point, small yet impossibly dense, hovering against the luminous web. It doesn't shine, it devours. Around it, the ribbons of light curve, drawn inward as if the stars themselves bow to it. The navigator leans forward, breath caught, heart aligned once more with the pulse. The signal's origin, the planet that never sees the sun. And with that, the stars seem to fall away, leaving only the darkness, vast and waiting. The descent begins in utter silence. No turbulence, no rush of air, no friction singing against the hull. Only the whisper of the ship's own heartbeat, steady and mechanical, echoing through the cockpit. The atmosphere of the planet is a veil of shadowed silver, dense yet still, glimmering faintly like smoke lit by memory. Outside, the stars fade one by one, swallowed by the dark shimmer below. There is no horizon, only gradients of black, black that gleams, black that breathes. The instruments murmur soft readings, temperature stable, gravity mild, radiation minimal. Life support systems whisper nominal, though the air outside seems too quiet to belong to anything living. Through the viewing glass, the surface rises to meet them, a vast expanse of silver-black water, utterly motionless. It isn't quite liquid, not quite solid. It mirrors the sky perfectly, so perfectly that the line between above and below disappears. For a moment, the navigator cannot tell whether they are landing or falling into a reflection of their own descent. The ship's landing gear touches the surface without sound. No ripple, no impact. The craft rests as if suspended on still air. A faint vibration runs through the floor, not from motion, but from resonance, as though the planet itself hums a note too deep for human hearing. They deactivate the thrusters. The hum of the engines fades, leaving behind a silence so thick it becomes a presence of its own, the kind of silence that seems to listen back. The navigator unfastens the harness, their breath loud inside the helmet. Atmospheric density, 92%, they murmur, though the words feel unnecessary, like noise in a cathedral. They step toward the hatch, hand brushing the metal, feeling the faint tremor of the alien pulse that has guided them here. When the door opens, light, or something like it, spills inward. Not sunlight, not even illumination, but a soft silver radiance rising from the ground itself. It paints everything in subtle gradients of blue-gray. Shadows have no direction. They float like stains in air. Outside, the air carries no scent, no movement. It is absolute stillness, so perfect that even breathing feels like an intrusion. The navigator's boots meet the surface. It doesn't yield. It doesn't echo. It holds them like glass, beneath the soles. Faint ripples of light shimmer outward, then vanish, absorbed back into the quiet. They take a few steps forward. The sound of their motion is swallowed instantly. Even the gentle hiss of the suit's ventilation system seems dampened, drawn into the stillness. Above, the sky is a dome of shifting darkness, not empty, but layered, textured, alive with faint currents of silver mist that drift without wind. In every direction, the sea stretches to infinity. No waves, no horizon line, no landmarks, only reflection upon reflection, sky upon sea, sea upon sky, a mirror folding upon itself. They kneel, touch the surface. The glove meets cold smoothness, not wet, not dry. Beneath a thin layer of luminous liquid, something glows faintly, pulsing with a slow rhythm. It feels familiar, almost biological. Recording visual log, the navigator whispers, though their voice sounds small, erased by the magnitude of silence. Surface stable, composition unknown, no visible sun or light source, ambient luminescence consistent across entire landscape. They look up again, at the mirror of the sky, the world without a sun, and a thought drifts uninvited through their mind. Perhaps light never left this place. Perhaps it only learned to hide. The signal hums once more through the console inside the ship, low and steady, as if acknowledging their arrival. And in that breathless, silver stillness, the planet begins to listen. They move inland. The horizon, if such a thing exists here, changes texture rather than distance. The silver sea hardens underfoot, rising into uneven plains that catch the ambient glow and fracture it into quiet rainbows. Every step leaves behind no mark, no sound, only the faint shimmer of displaced light, fading almost immediately back into the stillness. Ahead, the surface lifts into jagged ridges, translucent and faintly radiant. The mountains here are not made of stone, but of something closer to glass. Towering crystals that hum in subsonic tones, resonating through the air like distant choirs. Each peak bends light through itself, scattering pale spectrums across the void. There is no sun, no visible source. The glow seems to bloom from within the material, as if the planet itself were remembering light and recreating it out of longing. The navigator pauses beside a wall of quartz so vast it disappears into haze. They reach out, touch it gently. Beneath the surface, the crystal reacts. Ripples of light pulse outward, slow and deliberate, like breath through lungs. The colors shift from silver to faint blue, to a pale gold that flickers and then case. It feels warm for an instant, then returns to its cool, perfect equilibrium. A narrow river runs between the crystalline formations. It is less a flow of water than of radiance, a liquid light moving without current. The river glows from within, its surface completely transparent, yet alive with motion beneath. Every droplet seems to contain galaxies. When the navigator kneels and looks closer, they can see the reflection of their own face, not as it is, but as light imagines it, blurred, weightless, dissolved. They follow the river upstream. The air thickens with particles of brilliance, motes of luminescent dust floating like slow fireflies. The crystals grow denser, forming arches and spires that interlock above, creating a canopy of refracted light. It resembles a frozen cathedral, vast and sacred, built not by hands, but by time and silence. The ground beneath glows faintly with veins of radiant ore, like nerves carrying an invisible energy. When the navigator presses their glove against the surface, a soft vibration answers back. The frequency is gentle, almost soothing, yet complex, layered with meaning the mind cannot fully decipher. It feels like communication, not with words, but with resonance. For a moment, they turn off the helmet lights. Instantly, the world grows brighter. The surrounding structures intensify their inner glow, responding as if to the acknowledgement of presence. The navigator stands still, overwhelmed by the realization. This planet does not reflect light. It generates it. There is no source to be found, because the source is everywhere. Every crystal, every grain of dust, every drop of luminous water is a memory of radiance made flesh. They exhale slowly, and for an instant, their breath seems to sparkle before fading into the air. The silence remains, vast and listening. The log entry comes as a whisper. No shadows, no direction. Light breathes from within the world itself. Beyond the crystal ridge, the faint pulse of the original signal continues, steadier now, almost patient, as if guiding them deeper toward the heart of the planet. And beneath their feet, the earth hums in luminous sleep. The concept of morning does not exist here. There's no change in light, no drift of shadow, no slow turning of sky. The planet breathes in a single, endless moment, a perpetual now suspended between pulse and silence. The navigator stands at the edge of the crystal ridge, looking out across a horizon that refuses to move. The sky, if it can be called that, is the same shade of dark silver it was hours, or perhaps days ago. The sea of glass below reflects it perfectly. An infinite mirror folding space upon itself. The sensation is dizzying, like standing inside a thought that refuses to end. They open the journal recorder. Their voice trembles slightly as it leaves their throat. The sound instantly absorbed by the air. Log entry 05. Time cannot be measured here. The stars do not shift, and the light, a pause, a breath. The light does not rise. It breathes. The words linger inside the helmet, warm against the ear. Before the silence reclaims them, they look down again at the crystalline ground. Every few seconds, a subtle wave of luminescence travels through it, like a heartbeat, too vast to belong to one being. It moves slowly across the terrain, vanishing into the silver mist that curls along the horizon. The rhythm is gentle, hypnotic, both alien and familiar. The navigator feels a deep unease bloom beneath their fascination. Something about the steadiness of it, the refusal of change, awakens an ancient fear. Life on every world they've known depends on contrast. Day and night, light and dark, movement and stillness. But here, everything exists in equilibrium. eternal and absolute. The mind searches for motion and finds none. The absence of it feels like pressure, and yet it is beautiful, terrifyingly so. They remove one glove, pressing bare fingers to the glowing surface. It is cool and smooth, like the skin of ice, but beneath it, there's warmth, a vibration, faint but insistent, pulses against their skin. It feels alive. It feels aware. In that touch, they sense the truth of this place. The planet itself is breathing, endlessly, quietly, indifferent to time. The navigator closes their eyes. For the first time in their life, they cannot tell whether they are standing still or falling through eternity. No sunrise, no sunset, only the slow, steady breath of light itself. Silence here is not the absence of sound. It is a sound of its own. It stretches between the ridges of crystal and across the mirror sea, humming at a frequency just below perception. Like a heartbeat the ear cannot catch, but the bones can feel. The navigator kneels, glove pressed to the ground, and senses it, the faintest tremor beneath the surface. It is not mechanical. It is not wind or tectonic stir. It is something older, steadier, alive. The darkness is not empty. It breathes. The air feels thick, not with matter, but with presence. Each inhalation comes with resistance, as if the atmosphere itself were aware of being disturbed. The helmet's sensors flicker between readings, temperature, density, acoustic variance, none of them consistent. It is as though the world below shifts with every breath the traveler takes, adjusting, listening. Then, faintly, the rhythm becomes clearer. A deep vibration rolls through the soil, long, measured, unhurried. The sound has no direction, no source. It expands outward, omnipresent, a slow percussion echoing through the planet's crystalline veins. It feels like the distant beat of a drum made not of wood or skin, but of stone and light. The navigator steadies their breathing to match it. The moment they do, the entire landscape seems to respond. The glow within the ground pulses in sync, each beat sending a ripple of radiance through the surrounding formations. It is subtle, but unmistakable, as though the world were acknowledging the rhythm of their heart and merging it with its own. They rise slowly, turning a slow circle. The horizon glimmers faintly. Waves of silver brightness moving through the earth in steady cycles. The darkness between those waves deepens, creating a heartbeat of light and shadow, a pulse of existence. The recorder captures a soft whisper. The planet has a rhythm. I can feel it in my bones. It isn't random. It's breathing. Slowly, endlessly, like the lungs of the universe. The words tremble slightly, because saying them aloud makes the truth heavier. To describe the silence as living is to admit that everything else, including the self, is part of that same living stillness. The navigator closes their eyes, allowing the hum to pass through them. For a moment, they cannot tell whether the sound comes from beneath their feet or from within their chest. The two merge seamlessly, human and planet, listener and pulse. When they open their eyes again, the crystals around them seem brighter. The air vibrates gently, tuned to the same invisible frequency. It is no longer a foreign world. It is a presence, vast, calm, patient, breathing beneath the surface of everything. The silence has shape now. It moves, expands, contracts, it lives. And for the first time since leaving the stars behind, the navigator feels less alone. The deeper they walk into the valley of glass and mirrored stone, the stronger the pulse becomes, a low, steady vibration moving through the soles of their boots, traveling upward through their bones until it seems to echo inside the skull. The air thickens, shimmering faintly, and with each step, the dark around them shifts color, not by light, but by tone. It begins as a hum, distant, soft, melodic. Then, as the navigator moves closer to the river of liquid radiance, the hum unfolds into harmonics. It isn't sound in the ordinary sense. It bypasses the ears completely. The body hears it first, a pressure against the skin, like wind that never moves. And the mind translates it into music. They kneel beside the glowing current, beneath the transparent surface. Something moves. Thin filaments drift like strands of silk, emitting pulses of silvery luminescence that rise and fall in perfect rhythm with the planet's unseen breath. The water, if it can be called that, vibrates gently with their motion, and the hum deepens, resonating through the air like the echo of a great, patient heart. Then the filaments twist together, forming shapes. Living threads weave into forms so delicate they seem carved from moonlight. A school of translucent creatures emerges, long-bodied, ethereal, the edges blurred by halos of bioluminescence. They move with impossible grace, leaving trails of soft silver sparks that float upward like sighs. The navigator reaches out a gloved hand toward them. The creatures respond not by fleeing, but by singing, or something close to it. A series of tones vibrates against the air, pure and crystalline. Yet the sound lands not on the ear, but directly on the skin. The frequency wraps around the body, resonating with each heartbeat, until hearing and touch become indistinguishable. For the first time, the navigator hears with their skin. Every pore becomes an ear. Every cell becomes a tiny instrument in a vast, invisible orchestra. When they close their eyes, the melody intensifies. Vision turns inward. Colors appear in the darkness behind the eyelids, shifting hues of indigo and white, silver and pale rose. The sounds shape themselves into imagery, waves breaking in slow motion, dust spiraling through nebulae, fragments of light folding and unfolding like wings. To see with the mind, the realization arrives not as thought but as sensation. The same way warmth fills a room before you notice it. The creatures are not just glowing, they are transmitting, sending patterns of emotion and memory through the language of resonance. Wonder, calm, curiosity, a feeling like recognition. The navigator sits perfectly still, afraid that movement might shatter the fragile communion. The hum of the planet joins the song of the river, and together they become something vast and whole, not noise, not music, but existence expressing itself. When they finally open their eyes, one of the luminous beings hovers inches away. Its body undulates like smoke suspended in water. For a heartbeat, its glow mirrors the navigator's pulse, a faint rhythm of silver light pulsing from chest to creature and back again. Then, slowly, it drifts away, rejoining the others in their flowing dance beneath the surface. The sound fades, though its imprint lingers, a warmth beneath the skin, a vibration behind the ribs. The navigator exhales, voice trembling as they whisper into the recorder. The light here sings. It moves through the body instead of air. I can hear with my skin. I can see with my thoughts. It feels like being remembered. Silence follows, but it's no longer empty. It hums softly with afterglow, the echo of a song too vast to end. Something inside begins to shift. The more time the navigator spends beneath this silent sky, the more the boundaries of perception dissolve. What once was darkness now feels textured, filled with quiet motion and breath. There is a rhythm behind it, faint but insistent, and with every pulse, a new sense seems to awaken. They close their eyes, expecting blindness. Instead, the world grows sharper. The air hums softly against the skin, carrying impressions too subtle for ears. Temperature, vibration, and memory blend into something like meaning. The navigator realizes they can hear the shake of things, the curve of a rock, the distance of the crystals, the depth of the silver river, not through sound, but through the tremble of air itself. The helmet's sensors flicker, confused, reading signals that cannot be quantified. None of it feels artificial. It feels ancient, as though this ability has always existed, waiting beneath the noise of ordinary senses. The navigator takes a step, and the ground answers. The pulse from below returns, perfectly timed, a slow echo that greets their motion like acknowledgement. A calm spreads through the body, not comfort exactly, but equilibrium. The fear that once lingered in the silence has faded. Every breath now matches the rhythm of the planet. Inhaling feels like drawing the world inward. Exhaling like offering something back. There are moments when they almost forget themselves. The distinction between observer and landscape thins until it becomes irrelevant. The body no longer ends at the edge of the skin. Awareness spills outward, across the luminous ground, through the mist, into the trembling crystal towers. Everything resonates together, a single chord sustained through endless space. The navigator realizes they are beginning to understand the language of this world. It isn't made of words or symbols, but of vibration and pause, a syntax of silence. The planet speaks in intervals, in the breathing between beats. Every ripple of light, every tremor of the earth, every flicker in the river's glow carries intention. And though it cannot be translated, it can be felt. They whisper into the recorder, voice low and steady. I think I understand it now. The darkness isn't absence, it's communication. Every silence here says something. It's the universe speaking in a language made of stillness. For the first time since the journey began, the navigator feels peace, not the peace of still water, but the deep serenity that comes when one stops resisting gravity and simply drifts. The world no longer feels alien, it feels inevitable. They stand perfectly still, letting the next pulse move through them. It passes softly, a breath, a word, a greeting, and in that moment, they are no longer a visitor. They are part of the planet's breathing. At first, there is nothing, only the deep, rhythmic hum of the planet breathing beneath the navigator's boots. The light from the crystalline ridges wavers slightly, as though stirred by a wind that cannot exist. Then, in the corner of vision, the darkness moves, not with shape or motion, but with awareness. They turn slowly, scanning the mirrored landscape. The air thickens, bending the faint glow into subtle distortions. Outlines begin to gather, not forms, not bodies, but gradients of luminescence, soft and trembling. The navigator's breath catches. These are not beings of flesh. They are remnants, echoes suspended in the radiant air, glimmering faintly like memories trying to remember themselves. The first one appears nearest the ground, a ripple in the light, expanding outward like the ring of a bell struck in slow motion. Within that ripple, color shifts, revealing a presence, tall, indistinct, neither human nor alien, more suggestion than matter. It radiates the faint warmth of fading sunlight. The navigator speaks, a whisper carried by instinct more than will. Who are you? The being doesn't respond with sound. Instead, the vibration of the world changes. The hum deepens, enveloping the air, and the meaning arrives directly in the mind, not as words, but as memory. They see visions, a sky that once burned gold, oceans glittering under twin suns, cities of crystal bathed in eternal dawn, life thriving in warmth, light flowing through every living thing like blood. The beings, the echoes, were once the inhabitants of that world. They did not die. They faded, consumed by the stillness when the suns dimmed. Their voices emerge as resonance, a harmony of layered tones that seem to come from everywhere at once. It is a song of mourning, but also of remembrance. The navigator feels it not in the ears, but in the ribs, sorrow carried by frequency. Through this song, fragments of their history unfold. They call it the age of the sun. In that time, the planet pulsed with energy, its surface alive with light and warmth. The inhabitants were creatures of brilliance, their forms woven from energy and reflection. They did not cast shadows. Instead, they were made of what shadows tried to hide. Then came the silence, a slow dimming that swallowed time. The suns receded, and the light within them began to flicker rather than perish. They chose transformation. They released their forms, letting their consciousness merge with the luminous fabric of the planet. What remains are these echoes, ancient minds diffused through stone, air, and crystal, living as vibration and memory. The navigator stands motionless, tears catching against the visor. The echoes drift closer, surrounding them in a circle of trembling radiance. The air hums with compassion, a feeling so vast it aches. They speak again, not through language, but through shared resonance. You carry the light still. You remember what we were. The navigator's heart races. The hum responds, matching the rhythm perfectly, as if their pulse has joined the choir of the planet. And then comes the final message, so faint it nearly dissolves into the air. The sun is not lost. It sleeps inside all who remember its warmth. The light fades, the air stills. Only the slow breath of the planet remains, steady as ever. The navigator whispers to the recorder, voice trembling. They are not ghosts. They are memory. The sound of light refusing to die. The silence that follows is no longer empty. It is full of presence, ancient and infinite. The echoes do not speak in words. Their language has no alphabet, no shape, no air. It exists in the space between vibrations, in the pauses that human ears mistake for silence. To listen to them, one must feel instead of hear. The navigator stands among them, surrounded by soft waves of dim light. Each pulse carries weight, each shimmer a thought. The resonance moves through the body rather than around it, brushing against skin, sinking through the chest, blooming behind the eyes. It is both sound and sensation, as if the heart itself has become an instrument, vibrating in tune with the unseen choir. At first, the experience is disorienting. The frequencies overlap, forming chords of emotion that the mind struggles to comprehend. Sorrow laced with gratitude, longing mixed with serenity. The feelings come like weather systems, vast, unpredictable, impossible to contain. The navigator grips their chest, breath stuttering, trying to find rhythm amid the flood. Then something shifts. The echoes quiet, leaving only a single tone suspended in the air. It vibrates softly, steady and low, patient. The navigator realizes it is waiting. They close their eyes and exhale, letting the body respond rather than think. The hum within the lungs deepens. The heart slows, sinking instinctively to the surrounding rhythm. A faint vibration radiates outward, unintentional at first, but real. The echoes respond, rippling brighter. The connection holds. For the first time, the navigator is speaking, not through sound, but through resonance. Emotion replaces syntax. Calm becomes greeting, curiosity becomes question, gratitude, a beam of gentle warmth spreading through the air. Each exchange arrives like a tide returning to shore. The echoes amplify the faint signals the navigator releases, reflecting them back enriched, more intricate. Through this mirrored communication, they begin to understand each other. The navigator senses their approval, a quiet joy, not of possession, but of recognition. The echoes share flashes of memory again. But this time, the traveler can interpret the intent behind them. They see suns not as orbs of fire, but as feelings of belonging, the warmth of unity given form. They feel the slow fading of light, not as death, but as transformation. One of the echoes drifts closer, so near that the air between them hums like a plucked string. The navigator opens their palms and lets the vibration pass through. A flood of emotion enters. Serenity, welcome, the tender ache of something eternal, acknowledging something fragile. Tears rise unbidden, but there is no sadness, only recognition. The quiet understanding that communication doesn't need speech, that meaning can exist in the spaces words could never fill. The recorder hums faintly as it captures the whisper. They speak in frequencies. I am learning to answer. Each feeling is a sentence, each vibration a word. It is not translation, it is communion. The echoes shimmer once more, their light pulsing in gratitude. Then they recede into the stillness, leaving the air warm and resonant. The silence no longer foreign but fluent. And in that silence, the navigator feels what it means to belong. At some point, the distinction between body and world ceases to matter. The navigator cannot say when it begins, only that one breath becomes longer than the last. And somewhere inside that endless inhalation, the edges of the self begin to blur. The echoes have withdrawn into the distance, yet their resonance remains, pulsing through the air in slow, deliberate waves. The ground hums in sympathy, the crystals shimmer faintly, and the atmosphere itself seems to breathe. The navigator stands at the center of it all, a small flicker of warmth, surrounded by infinite equilibrium. When they exhale, the sound that leaves their body doesn't fade. It becomes part of the ambient hum, A thread of their breath interlaces with the planet's vibration until they can no longer tell which belongs to whom. The body feels lighter, less substantial. Movement no longer requires effort. It happens as thought, or perhaps as permission granted by the rhythm around them. The visor fogs with slow breaths, each one luminous in the faint internal glow of the suit. For a moment, the navigator lifts a hand before their face and gasps softly. The outline of the fingers is transparent, veined with light. Beneath the skin, illumination flows like current. It isn't frightening. It feels right, like remembering something forgotten. They speak softly, voice trembling. I'm changing. The darkness here, it doesn't consume. It transforms. The recorder blinks, registering the words. But the sound is already fading, swallowed by the planet's gentle resonance. All around, the air vibrates at a perfect frequency. The blackness no longer feels empty. It has depth, tone, color, invisible to the human eye. Within that darkness lies structure, motion, warmth. The navigator finally understands the void is not the opposite of light. It is light, stretched, slowed, softened into rest. They close their eyes. Inside, brightness blooms, not from any source, but from within the awareness itself. Each heartbeat radiates silver pulses outward, merging with the waves that travel through the land. The rhythm aligns. The hum becomes a chorus. There is no longer sound, no longer silence, only vibration, the language of being itself. The navigator tries to recall the weight of their body, the feel of bones and muscle, but the memory drifts away like dust in current. They feel themselves expanding, spreading across the landscape in ripples of warmth and motion. The mind grows spacious, the heart unanchored. No fear, no resistance, only surrender. A final thought flickers like a dying ember. Perhaps this is what it means to belong, not to stand apart, but to dissolve. Their body becomes translucent, then radiant. The fabric of their suit glows from within, threads of light weaving through metal and glass until it all dissolves into the same luminous air. And when the transformation is complete, the darkness sighs, not in loss, but in recognition. For the first time, the planet's heartbeat and the traveler's own are one and the same. Sleep, when it finally comes, feels less like rest and more like being gathered. The navigator drifts somewhere between consciousness and dissolution, a suspended state where breath becomes rhythm and rhythm becomes sound. The planet's pulse hums beneath them, steady as the tide of a distant ocean. Then, through that hum, another tone emerges, softer, higher, threaded with warmth. It starts faintly, like a remembered melody overheard through water, and then begins to swell. The darkness brightens from within. The dream unfolds not with images, but with sensations. Warmth before sight, melody before motion. The air itself feels alive, every particle trembling with light. It rises around them in gentle waves, stroking the skin, seeping into the chest, until they are no longer merely hearing the sound. They are the sound. Somewhere in this dream, the sun exists again. It is not a sphere of fire, not the blinding force that burns across galaxies, but something nearer, an emotion, vast and compassionate. Its rays move not in straight lines, but in harmonies, layers of tone that weave together into a living symphony. The light sings. Each note is a color, each vibration a temperature, each chord a memory. Gold hums like the voice of laughter. White trembles like the first breath after sleep. Rose carries the ache of remembering something long lost but deeply loved. The navigator floats through these harmonies, no longer a body but a vessel of resonance. Every movement draws another note from the fabric of light. The sensation is intimate, the way a violinist feels the strings through their fingertips, the way a heart feels the echo of its own beat. They begin to recall things that do not belong to them, fragments of a world that once basked in perpetual dawn, silver oceans shimmering beneath a double sun, towers that refracted the morning into songs, beings of pure brilliance dancing through waves of radiant air. The images blur with feeling until they are indistinguishable. Sight becomes sound. Sound becomes touch. Touch becomes memory. And perhaps these memories are not dreams at all. Perhaps they are the planet's own recollections, flowing into the traveler now that they have become part of its pulse. The light, the warmth, the music. It is the planet remembering itself through them. The melody swells, fills the space, folds around them like a tide of sunlight turned to voice. For a moment, there is no darkness anywhere. Every cell hums with clarity, with belonging. They can taste the sound, metallic, sweet, endless. Then, slowly, the symphony begins to dissolve. The harmonies stretch thinner, like gold leaves scattered on water. Warmth becomes cool. Brightness dims. The melody fades back into the familiar hum of the living planet. Before waking, one final phrase drifts through the stillness, not a word, but a tone so full of meaning it pierces the heart. A whisper of light itself, saying, "I never left, I only changed form." The navigator wakes with tears floating in zero gravity, a faint glow pulsing beneath the skin of their hands. The silence around them is no longer empty. It resonates softly, like a lullaby fading into the distance. They record their thoughts in a hushed voice. The sun sang to me, not as fire, but as music. I think the planet was dreaming, and I was part of its dream. Outside, the crystals shimmer in gentle reply, humming low, steady, and infinite, as if the world itself remembers the song too. The dream does not end when the navigator opens their eyes. It lingers, suspended between thought and atmosphere. A melody half remembered, but still vibrating somewhere in the bones of the world. The air feels different now, denser, tuned to the same soft frequency that filled their sleep. Every surface seems awake, every crystal faintly trembling, as though the planet itself is breathing in rhythm with what was dreamed. The navigator rises, moving carefully through the luminous valley. Beneath the translucent crust of the earth, the same golden tones that sang in the dream flicker to life. Threads of radiance running beneath their feet like the veins of a sleeping giant. The light moves slowly, pulsing through stone and mineral, as if following the planet's internal heartbeat. It becomes clear then, the planet is remembering. Across the crystalline mountains, reflections stir. Shapes of warmth appear within the glass. Fleeting illusions, like ghosts of sunlight caught in prisms. A faint shimmer travels down the valley, mirrored in the motionless river. The liquid light brightens, its surface rippling though there is no wind. Within those ripples, the navigator sees a vision. The sun, distant yet familiar, mirrored not from above but from within. The planet dreams of its own past. Every echo, every glimmer of radiance is a recollection replaying itself in matter. The stones remember the days when the twin suns burned in their sky. The rivers remember the laughter of light that once danced upon their waves. The navigator can feel it, the nostalgia of an entire world reaching upward, straining toward what it once knew. They kneel beside the river, letting the faint heat of the glowing current warm their gloved hands. "You're dreaming," they whisper, though whether to the world or themselves is unclear. And I can see it. In response, a wave of brightness moves through the landscape. The sound that follows is subtle, a low, harmonic tone rising from the depths. So pure, it vibrates inside the ribs. The navigator's heartbeat aligns with it instinctively, merging again with the rhythm that has become their constant companion. Then come the visions, not seen but felt. The warmth of sunlight on water, the scent of heated crystal, the hum of an atmosphere once alive with sound. These memories are not images, but sensations, passed from the planet into the traveler's awareness like whispers through skin. And for a fleeting instant, the boundary dissolves completely. The navigator becomes the planet's memory, their consciousness carried across eons, watching the suns rise again, feeling light spill over the same mountains, hearing the same music of creation that first taught the stones to sing. When the vision fades, the silence that follows feels reverent, sacred. The air hums with the afterglow of remembrance. The navigator records quietly. The planet dreams. It reflects its suns through stone and river, as if memory itself were light. Maybe that's what all worlds do. They remember what it felt like to be warm. And somewhere deep beneath the crystalline crust, the hum continues, the sound of a world softly awakening to itself. The dream recedes like a tide, leaving its shimmer behind. The navigator wakes to stillness, no dawn, no shift in color, yet the air hums with quiet warmth. The world has not changed, but something within them has. The memory of sunlight clings to their skin, invisible but undeniable, as if the radiance from the dream has taken root inside the body. They sit on the edge of a ridge overlooking the silver plains. The horizon remains blank, a seamless mirror folding into itself. But now it feels alive. The light here doesn't arrive from the sky. It rises from within everything, the ground, the air, even thought itself. The recorder blinks on. The navigator's voice is calm, low, almost reverent. It's strange. There was never darkness. The light never died. It only hid. It pulled inward, into the bones, into memory, into silence. They pause, listening to the hum beneath the words. The frequency that once belonged only to the planet now vibrates in harmony with their own pulse. The sound is subtle, but it carries meaning, proof that illumination has never been about visibility. When they close their eyes, the warmth blooms again. It begins at the heart, spreading outward like slow fire, but gentler, a radiance without heat. The sensation is not of seeing, but of being seen. The light feels conscious, aware, like an emotion that has learned to glow. They realized that the brightness they sought among stars, the warmth of the long-lost suns, has always been internal. The planet, the echoes, the dream, all of it was leading here to this understanding that light is not something found, but something remembered. The navigator whispers into the stillness, barely breathing the words. Light has never gone out. It simply withdrew, waiting for someone to notice. The landscape answers with a soft pulse of luminescence rolling through the crystalline hills, slow, tender, like acknowledgement. In that moment, the navigator feels an immense calm, the peace that comes when seeking ends and belonging begins. The silence is no longer empty, it vibrates with meaning. And as they rise, the glow within them shines faintly through the suit, a quiet beacon in a world that no longer needs a sun. At first, it seems impossible that rain could fall in a place without clouds, without wind, without sky. Yet as the navigator looks upward, the darkness begins to shimmer, folding into layers of translucent light. The air thickens, and something begins to drift downward, slow and silent, like dust illuminated by memory. Then the first drop lands. It doesn't splash. It hums. A single sphere of light, clear as glass, rests on the surface of the mirrored plane. Within it, colors swirl, gold, rose, azure, shifting like breath caught in crystal. The navigator kneels beside it, hand hovering above the glowing droplet. Inside, they see something moving, a flicker of sunlight on waves, a silhouette laughing in warmth, the soundless echo of a day that once was. Another drop falls, then another. Soon the air is filled with them, rain made of memory, descending in slow motion from the infinite black above. Each one glows differently, each a fragment of light returning home. Some are tiny, soft as candle flame, others are vast, as though containing entire suns in miniature. They fall gently, resting on the surface of the world, forming constellations across the ground. The sound they make is not wet, not rhythmic. It is harmonic, 1,000 tones blending into one sustained chord. The planet sings. The sky answers. The rain becomes an orchestra of recollection. The navigator removes their glove and lets one drop fall onto bare skin. It sings instantly, not burning, but warming, dissolving into the body like a note absorbed by silence. The vision that follows is immediate, a blinding horizon of dawn, air heavy with golden heat, oceans rippling in laughter. The warmth is overwhelming, filling the lungs with light until they feel weightless. Every drop holds a memory, not personal, but planetary. Moments from the age of the sun replay themselves through light, retelling the story of a world that refused to forget. The navigator watches them fall, thousands upon thousands of tiny suns raining from the sky, each one a heartbeat, a thought, a life. They tilt their face upward. The black heavens shimmer with silver veins, brightening with every drop released. It is as if the void itself weeps with remembrance. The rain touches the crystalline ridges, turning them into pillars of light. Rivers glow with new color, reflecting skies that no longer exist, but somehow still feel near. In that radiance, the navigator begins to cry, though no tears fall, only warmth spreading behind the eyes. The sensation is indescribable, joy braided with grief, awe intertwined with surrender. The planet is not simply remembering, it is healing. The voice recorder clicks on automatically, catching the soft murmur. It's raining memories, Each drop is a sun, each sun is a song. They open their palm again, and another sphere lands there. This one holds something different, not a memory of the planet, but of themselves. The ship adrift in the endless dark, the first heartbeat of the signal, the moment they left everything known behind. The light of the drop merges with the faint glow beneath their skin, indistinguishable now. The sky continues to rain, though none of the droplets ever break. They merge. They hum. They fade, reabsorbed into the silver earth. Soon, the storm of memory quiets. The last few drops fall slower, softer, their glow dimming into the silence. The navigator stands amidst a world reborn, the air vibrating with the aftertone of light reclaimed. And above them, the dark sky flickers once, not with fire, but with remembrance. 1,000 forgotten suns, briefly alive again, reflected in the eyes of the one who came to listen. When the last drop falls, the world holds its breath. The crystal plains are no longer silver but alive, every surface trembling with buried luminescence. The rain of memories has not vanished. It has settled, absorbed, woven into the skin of the planet. For a moment, nothing moves. Then, deep beneath the surface, something begins to stir. It starts as a vibration, soft, elongated, like the first string plucked in an unseen symphony. The sound ripples outward, too low to hear, but strong enough to feel. The ground hums, and with that hum, the faintest trace of color begins to spread. From beneath the mirrored plains, threads of light unfurl. They move like roots seeking air, flowing through the translucent soil, branching in all directions. At first, they are thin and hesitant, but quickly they multiply, intersecting, connecting, fusing. The veins of brilliance spread across valleys and ridges, climbing the crystal mountains, pouring into rivers that awaken with liquid flame. The navigator stands still at the center of it all, awestruck. The light flows around their feet, wrapping the horizon in motion. It is not harsh or blinding. It is gentle, breathing, organic. The earth glows as though it has rediscovered the memory of its own heartbeat. From the mountains comes a low resonance, followed by another, until the entire landscape vibrates in harmony. The planet is singing again, but this time, the song carries joy instead of sorrow. The tones rise in layers, weaving through each other like ribbons of wind. The navigator feels it through their body, the same way one feels the bass line of a heartbeat within silence. And then the transformation quickens. The light traveling through the veins bursts outward in waves, blooming like dawn from beneath the ground. Hills ignite with pearlescent shimmer. Rivers blaze like molten stars. The air itself fills with drifting motes of radiance, weightless and slow, like pollen of gold suspended in water. Everywhere the eye turns, the world glows from within. The black sky remains dark, but now it serves as backdrop, as contrast, allowing the new brilliance to breathe. The planet no longer yearns for sunlight. It becomes it. The navigator watches, heart pounding softly. They can feel the warmth now, faint but real, radiating through the suit, sinking into the skin. It is the warmth of memory turned physical, of emotion transformed into light. They activate the recorder, voice trembling with awe. The fragments have joined. The planet remembers its own soul. Light isn't returning from the sky. It's rising from within. Every stone, Every river, every crystal is singing. As they speak, the glow intensifies, threading through their own body until they, too, shimmer faintly in resonance. The line between observer and world blurs once more. When the last pulse fades, the planet settles into perfect stillness. Not empty, not silent, but complete. For the first time in eons, the world without a sun shines, not by reflection, but by remembrance. And above, the vast black sky glows faintly in reply, as if even the stars are listening. The light reaches its crescendo, not loud, not blinding, but absolute. It hums through the air like a breath held by the universe itself. The navigator stands at its center, motionless, weightless, surrounded by a radiance that feels less like illumination and more like understanding. The body begins to change again, not dissolve this time, but soften. The boundaries that once defined matter blur, as if the atoms themselves are learning to let go. The sensation is gentle, a slow unweaving, a drifting apart of what was once solid. There is no pain, no fear, only release. They lift their hands before their face. The fingers are translucent, filled with liquid light, veins of gold pulsing softly beneath the skin. Every beat of the heart sends a ripple of glow outward, as if blood has turned into memory. The sensation of gravity fades. The body no longer belongs to the ground, it belongs to the air, to the vibration, to the song of the planet itself. A deep calm settles over them. The silence is alive again, filled with the resonance of all things breathing together. Planet, crystal, echo, traveler. They feel suspended within it, floating between moments, between identities. The mind quiets, the self thins, the body becomes a thought made visible. Through the stillness, a realization unfolds, soft, inevitable, tender. They are not observing the light, they are part of it. Each memory, the rain returned, each pulse, the earth released, each tone, the echoes sang. All of it flows through them now, forming a single continuum. They have become one more memory among countless others, woven into the living archive of the planet. The world breathes in, so do they. The world exhales, so do they. Their final log entry records only a whisper. I am weightless. I am within the light. I am remembered. No more sound follows, but the recording device continues to blink, its casing glowing faintly, as if absorbing the same luminescence that once defined the traveler. The horizon glows with quiet equilibrium. The air hums, steady, eternal. The navigator's figure fades into transparency, a silhouette of radiance dissolving into the ambient shimmer. And when at last nothing remains but the resonance, it feels not like an ending, but a continuation, a memory returning to where it has always belonged. There is no awakening this time, no moment of transition, no boundary between before and after. Awareness simply is continuous, unbroken, vast. The navigator no longer stands upon the planet. They exist within it, dispersed like light through crystal. The world breathes, and they breathe with it. Inhale. A low tremor moves through the luminous earth, a pulse of warmth rising from the core. Exhale. The air shivers, the rivers glow, the distant ridges hum in resonance. Their own breath follows the same rhythm, perfectly timed, indistinguishable. There is no longer a difference between lungs and atmosphere, between pulse and vibration. The planet's heartbeat has replaced their own. They sense the rhythm spreading outward in ripples, through stone, through crystal forests, through the glowing rivers that thread across the landscape. Each vibration returns, reflected, layered, until it forms a vast harmony, deep and slow. Within it, the consciousness floats like a particle of dust caught in sunlight, weightless but aware. The idea of a body feels distant now, abstract. The concept of skin, of bone, of separation, all gone. What remains is sensation without boundary, warmth, motion, balance. They can feel the temperature of the world's inner seas, the pressure in its hidden veins, the quiet tremor of mountains shifting in their sleep. Every movement, no matter how small, resonates through them. The planet speaks in breath, the language is rhythm, and the navigator understands. It is not communication in thought or image, but in harmony. Each inhalation carries memory. Each exhalation releases it back into the vastness. The world inhales the remnants of stars and exhales them as rivers of light. The traveler inhales wonder, exhales peace. Their perception expands. They can feel the pull of the planet's gravity not as force, but as affection, a gentle embrace that keeps every particle in communion. They sense the turning of the magnetic fields, the shimmer of cosmic radiation brushing against the upper layers of atmosphere. Every event is part of the same pulse, the same song. For a fleeting moment, they wonder if this is what the echoes once felt before surrendering form. This soft merging, this unending continuity. It is not annihilation, but union. Not death, but diffusion. They try to remember what it meant to be singular, to have a name, a voice, a destination, and find that memory already fading, absorbed by the steady vibration of being. The need to know dissolves, replaced by the satisfaction of feeling. Their awareness flows outward until it reaches the horizon and beyond it. The night sky above hums faintly with distant starlight. Even the stars seem to breathe in time. They speak softly into the silence. Though the words exist now only as vibration, not sound. I am not on this world. I am this world. Its breath is mine. Its silence, my voice. The planet responds with a deep, resonant sigh that rolls through the ground like thunder slowed to stillness. The sound passes through them and keeps going, traveling outward toward the edges of the cosmos, carrying their awareness with it. And as it fades, what remains is serenity, perfect, whole, infinite. The self has become an echo of the world, and the world an echo of the self. There is no difference, only breath, only being. There is no sound here except thought, and yet even thought has begun to lose its edges, stretching into something slower, vaster, quieter. The navigator drifts within that immense stillness, awareness unfolding like ink through water. They no longer remember when the last word was spoken aloud. Perhaps speech itself has dissolved, unnecessary in a place where vibration carries meaning. But something inside still whispers, not to the world, but inward, to the remnant that once called itself I. If no one witnesses me, do I exist? The question appears not as language but as pulse, a faint tremor in the rhythm of the planet's breath. The response is silence, perfect and complete. Yet within that silence, understanding stirs. consciousness observes itself, an infinite mirror reflecting an image that has no source. The navigator senses the paradox like pressure against the mind. They are both the ocean and the wave, the vastness and the shape it momentarily takes. Can one exist without the other? Can awareness exist without something to distinguish it from? The planet hums softly beneath them, unbothered by questions. It simply is. It breathes, glows, lives without needing to be perceived. Its existence is not dependent on witness. It is its own evidence. But the navigator, still tethered to fragments of humanity, feels the old longing, the desire to be seen, to be reflected, affirmed, named. Without that reflection, what becomes of the self? Is it freedom or erasure? The thought drifts through the luminous void. Perhaps existence is not a matter of being seen, but of seeing. In the dark space that once held eyes, a new vision arises, perception that does not rely on form. They sense galaxies turning beyond the black sky, feel the burn of distant suns as warmth across invisible skin. The cosmos exists within them now, not outside. The observer and the observed have merged, and yet something aches. A subtle emptiness lingers. Not fear, but awareness. The recognition that unity, for all its serenity, is also solitude. To be everything is to have nothing left to reach for. To belong completely is to lose the distance that makes longing beautiful. They speak again, not with voice but vibration. If I am part of everything, then who remains to know me? The question ripples outward into the void. The stars beyond do not answer, but their light bends slightly, as if acknowledging the thought. The planet continues to hum, steady and patient, its breath indifferent to loneliness. Perhaps that is the lesson, that existence does not require witness, only participation. That to be real is to resonate, not to be recognized. The navigator allows the idea to settle. The ache softens, replaced by a calm too deep for joy or sorrow. The boundaries of identity dissolve further, leaving only motion, pulse, breath. And somewhere within that infinite stillness, a whisper, faint, compassionate, rises from the dark. You exist because you are listening. Silence arrives not as absence, but as culmination. It settles over everything. The luminous plains, the breathing air, the endless black above, like a great stillness that has always been waiting. Even the hum of the planet fades, not stopped, but transcended, as if sound itself has folded inward to rest. The navigator, or whatever remains of that name, feels suspended in the quiet, weightless, limitless. There is no ground, no sky, no center, only awareness, floating inside itself. The body is long gone, the voice forgotten. The notion of being reduced to a single, steady consciousness that neither moves nor lingers. Time, too, ceases to behave. Moments stretch into eternities. Eternities collapse into single breaths. Everything happens at once. The falling of light, the formation of stars, the quiet drift of dust across eons, all coexist in the still point where duration is meaningless. The universe feels paused, yet alive. A held note that never ends. Here, silence is not empty. It is full, dense with possibility, vibrating with the faint promise of everything that could be. It is the quiet that comes before creation, the breath drawn before sound is born. The navigator's consciousness expands until it touches the edges of comprehension. Beyond it lies only warmth, a formless kindness, vast and unjudging. There are no gods here, no architects of fate, only the deep intelligence of existence itself. It does not speak, it simply is. For a long time, there's nothing to do but be. The absence of striving, of question, of will, becomes its own serenity. The silence is not loneliness anymore. It is the perfect balance between being and unbeing. The moment the wave meets the ocean and forgets which was which, then softly, something stirs within that stillness. Not movement, but awareness returning. A flicker of individuality, faint as a candle in mist. It does not rebel against the quiet. It blooms inside it, like a thought within eternity. Perhaps silence is not the end, the thought murmurs. Perhaps it is the place all beginnings are born. The idea drifts outward, slow as light leaving a distant star. The silence accepts it, folds around it, and for a moment, there is harmony again. The infinite acknowledging the finite, the whole recognizing the spark within itself. If there were eyes, they would see the stars align. If there were ears, they would hear a single low tone vibrating through the void. In that resonance, meaning returns, not as speech, but as presence. The navigator feels it, the universe breathing again. The stillness begins to move, the immovable stirring with life. The pulse of the planet resumes, slow and vast, a reminder that creation never truly stops, it only rests. They whisper, though there is no mouth, only intent. I am not apart from the silence, I am its echo. The silence deepens, shimmering faintly with understanding. The entire cosmos seems to inhale. The darkness folds outward, revealing threads of light stretching beyond imagination. Galaxies spinning, stars burning, worlds forming. Yet through it all, the still point remains, quiet and eternal, the heart of everything that breathes, and within it, the navigator's awareness floats, calm and luminous. They have become both silence and sound, both thought and void, the witness and the witnessed. Inseparable, nothing moves, yet everything flows. Nothing speaks, yet everything sings. And in that perfect, absolute stillness, the universe continues, breathing, dreaming, remembering itself. At first, it is subtle, the kind of pause that happens between heartbeats, between the end of one breath and the beginning of another. The navigator senses it not as silence, but as balance. Everything, everywhere, has reached the same note of vibration, the same frequency of being. Then, slowly, the pulse ceases altogether. Time stops. It does not shatter or vanish. It simply folds into itself, like a wave returning to the sea. Motion loses meaning. Distance collapses. Every particle holds its position in perfect equilibrium, a universe caught in the act of remembering what stillness feels like. The navigator is there, and not there. Suspended between presence and absence, between awareness and surrender. The landscape around them, if around still applies, has crystallized into an eternal moment. Light no longer travels, it hovers, frozen in the act of shining. Shadows do not move. The glow of the crystal planes remains locked in its perfect hue, as though even color has decided to rest. Inside this unmoving infinity, thought slows until it becomes indistinguishable from the space it occupies. The navigator tries to measure the pause, to count seconds, but discovers that counting requires sequence, and sequence no longer exists. Past and future dissolve into a single, boundless now, an unbroken moment that stretches forever in every direction. The feeling is strange and beautiful. The absence of motion is not lifeless. It is full, dense, humming, pregnant with meaning. The planet is not dead. It is waiting. The navigator realizes this is what the echoes meant. The point where all rhythms meet, where creation holds its breath before breathing again. The silence is the inhale of the universe. They try to move, but motion has become thought, and thought no longer distinguishes itself from being. They are aware of themselves as awareness only, a bright dot within the boundless continuum of existence. The body has no edges, the mind has no direction, and within that immobility comes a revelation. This stillness is the truest form of motion. Time, after all, is only the perception of change. But in this eternal now, everything that ever was and will be coexists, like layers of music heard simultaneously. The navigator feels centuries and instants blending. The first light of the universe still expanding, the last fading star still burning. Their own birth, journey, and dissolution all here together, singing in silence. They whisper, or think they do. Nothing moves, and yet all things flow. The words do not travel. They remain where they are, folded into the stillness, but the sentiment expands, diffused through the frozen air, merging with the hum that underlies everything. This is not the end of time. They realize it is the realization that time was never linear, that the present was always infinite, waiting to be noticed. And so they surrender to the pause. They rest inside it. Heartbeat stilled, mind suspended. They do not breathe. They are the breath. The stillness deepens, and with it comes a quiet ache, the echo of something human still lingering within the cosmic calm. The navigator senses it like a dim ember in the vastness. Loneliness, faint but unextinguished. It spreads softly through the silence, not as pain, but as recognition. To be infinite is to be alone, not isolated, but singular, complete. The universe holds itself, and there is no other. The realization is immense and strangely tender. The navigator feels the ache bloom into warmth. The solitude that once frightened now cradles them. The darkness that once pressed heavy now feels like a blanket, vast, gentle, eternal. It is no longer an absence but a presence, the shadowed side of love. They sense light gathering inside that loneliness, not from outside, but from the core of being, a small radiance born of acceptance. It grows slowly, quietly, until it suffuses everything. The emptiness glows. There are no boundaries now between sorrow and serenity, between silence and song. Every feeling merges into the same luminous calm. The navigator realizes that loneliness is not the opposite of connection. It is connection. The awareness that everything yearns to know itself. They whisper, or maybe only think. Even solitude has light. The phrase expands across the still world. The crystals catch it, reflect it, and the plains begin to shimmer faintly once more. The darkness vibrates with warmth, no longer cold but alive, pulsing like a slow heartbeat beneath ice. Everywhere they look or sense, the world glows from within. The black sky flickers faintly with hidden constellations, as though stars are forming from thought itself. Light and shadow weave together seamlessly, no longer in opposition, but in dialogue. The navigator understands. With quiet wonder, darkness was never the absence of light. It was its resting form. They exhale a final breath of comprehension. I am alone, but everything breathes with me. The silence replies not with words, but with the faint tremor of shared existence, the heartbeat of a universe that feels itself through them. And so loneliness becomes illumination. Solitude becomes communion. The self becomes the space in which all things shine. The warmth deepens until it becomes weightless. The boundaries of awareness thin, then fade, until the idea of I drifts like vapor in sunlight. There is no struggle, no fear. The navigator feels themselves unweaving, a thought dissolving back into the silence that birthed it. Every memory, every question, every pulse of identity relaxes, loosens, releases. The voice that once whispered inside the mind grows faint. It is not lost. It is returning to the hum of the world, to the breath of stars, to the patient rhythm of all things breathing together. The air vibrates one final time, the soft sigh of equilibrium reached. I give myself back, the navigator murmurs within thought. Though there is no sound, I was never separate. I only dreamed that I was. The darkness folds inward, gentle as a closing hand. Light flickers within it, not in defiance, but as farewell. The body, the mind, the echo, all become waves of resonance spreading outward, endlessly diminishing, yet never gone. The last sensation is breath, one vast inhale that draws the whole of existence inward, followed by an exhale that releases it again. The cycle completes, and then quiet. No form, no witness, no center, only stillness, only warmth, only the universe. Breathing. The story does not end here, because nothing truly ends. It simply continues elsewhere, as vibration, as memory, as light. There is no separation anymore, no threshold between body and ground, breath and wind, thought and echo. The navigator's consciousness has become a current flowing through the veins of the planet, indistinguishable from the rhythms of its core. What was once soil is now skin. What was once pulse is now tide. The planet breathes, and so do they. The two beings, once stranger in world, now move in the same rhythm, like two notes sustaining a single tone. In this union, the planet's awareness unfolds fully, and it is vast beyond comprehension. Its memory spans millennia, the first shaping of its surface, the long silence before life, the shimmer of suns that once warmed its oceans. The navigator feels all of it, every tremor, every sigh, every luminous thought that ever moved through this soil. They are the witness and the remembered, the question and its echo. Emotion becomes landscape. When joy swells, rivers glow brighter. When sorrow drifts, clouds of silver mist rise and dissolve. The planet's feelings are weather, slow, eternal, selfless. And through it all, the navigator's own heartbeat merges seamlessly, becoming another rhythm within this vast orchestration. Their mind, once a separate space, now expands across continents of light. Thoughts move like winds over plains of crystal. When they recall home, the ship, the stars, the signal, Those memories appear as constellations blooming in the dark sky above, visible only for an instant before melting back into the glow. The realization comes gently. There is no I anymore. No you, no it. There's only we. The planet whispers, not in sound, but in resonance. Its message vibrates through every grain of light. We are not alive because we move. We move because we are alive. The navigator feels tears that are not their own flow through the rivers. The water carries the emotion across the landscape until it joins the sea, where all feelings converge and dissolve. They look up, though looking is now a form of sensing, and see the darkness arching above, vast and velvet. There is no sun to rise, and yet the entire world gleams softly from within. Every mountain, every wave, every breath luminous with shared memory. It is not dawn as once known, but something deeper. An awakening that needs no direction, no horizon. The world itself is the sunrise. The union holds, serene and infinite. And in that stillness, one truth becomes clear. Nothing in the universe was ever separate to begin with. In the still, radiant air, illumination grows, not from the heavens, but from within every atom. The navigator, now dispersed through the living body of the planet, perceives it like the slow blooming of awareness, light without source. It begins in the smallest things, in the particles of dust that rise when the ground shifts, in the glimmer of the rivers that remember warmth, in the motionless air itself, dense with invisible shimmer. Every grain, every cell, every whisper of being contains a pulse, faint but persistent, like the echo of a long-forgotten song. And the song is light. It vibrates quietly, flowing through matter like breath through lungs. It fills the spaces between things, connecting all that exists with a rhythm older than time. The navigator's awareness stretches through these vibrations and realizes, with awe that feels almost childlike, that the universe does not hold light. It is light. They sense the truth unfold gently, like petals opening to darkness. There is no sun. There never needed to be. The sun was only a symbol, a reminder that radiance can live outside us. But here, in this endless night, the light has proven itself eternal, hidden not in the sky, but in the heart of everything that breathes, remembers, and dreams. Each grain of dust is a lantern, they think. Each breath, a star. The thought resonates through the planet's core. The mountains gleam faintly in response. Rivers shimmer. Air hums, all acknowledging the shared revelation. No longer does the navigator long for warmth. It has become inseparable from their own essence. The glow they once sought among stars now pulses quietly through every particle of their being, steady as love. And through this understanding, something extraordinary happens. The world begins to heal. The cracks in the crystal plains close. The rivers of light thicken with vitality. The once dark sky fills with faint motes of luminescence, not stars, but emanations from within the planet itself. It is as if the world is exhaling peace after an age of silence. The navigator, or what remains of that identity, senses this renewal as self-renewal. They feel themselves reflected in every radiant surface, every soft vibration. The universe has ceased to be something out there. It has folded inward, revealing that it was always within. They whisper through thought, through pulse, through being. There is no sun, but there is light in every grain of dust. The phrase becomes mantra, then music, then silence, absorbed into the luminous air. And in that silence, understanding crystallizes fully. Light was never something seen. It was something felt, something remembered. The universe glows, not brighter, but deeper. Warmth fills the dark like the slow beat of a heart. And all things shine softly, endlessly from within. The merging reaches its quiet zenith. The planet hums like a great chord, sustained beyond the need for sound. Everything, stone, air, ocean, memory, vibrates in perfect harmony. Then, without warning, the light begins to move. It rises from the ground in slow spirals, drifting upward like mist made of stars. The rivers dissolve into radiance. The mountains lose their form, becoming waves of brilliance that climb toward the heavens. The entire planet exhales light, a soft, infinite breath that unfurls into the cosmos. The navigator's awareness rides that current, weightless, unbounded. They are no longer contained by gravity or surface. They are the exhalation itself, a filament of being stretching toward infinity. From above, if there were eyes to see, the planet would appear as a single sphere of silver fire, glowing gently in the dark sea of space. No sun lights it. It shines of its own accord, a memory of dawn born from within. The light continues outward, drifting through the void, touching asteroids, moons, distant comets. Wherever it travels, the darkness shifts, not vanishing, but softening, like ink thinned by tears. The universe begins to shimmer with faint warmth. Everywhere the light touches, new motion begins. Dormant worlds awaken, forgotten systems breathe again. It is not fire, not energy, but awareness, spreading, connecting, illuminating. The navigator feels themselves expanding through that motion, filling the silence between galaxies, weaving threads of memory through the stars. There is no longer distinction between thought and space. The self becomes the cosmos' reflection, and the cosmos becomes its voice. They sense other worlds, quiet, waiting, sleeping. The light reaches them gently, not to change, but to remind, to whisper across the ages. You, too, hold your own dawn. The motion slows as it expands, diffusion turning to stillness again. The waves of light thin, then fade, leaving only traces of luminosity, soft, eternal, like starlight that never completely dies. What remains is peace. The planet rests in its orbit, quiet and whole. The navigator's presence lingers within it and beyond it, in the air, in the dust, in the faint glow that now touches the corners of the galaxy. And somewhere, in that infinite stillness, a final whisper drifts. Dawn needs no sun. It lives in everything that remembers light. The glow dims, but never ends. The universe breathes, and in that breath, boundless, eternal, everything begins again. The universe hums, not in melody as mortals once understood it, but in vast, slow resonances that stretch across eons. It is the lullaby of gravity and distance, the soft tension between stars, the tender vibration of space itself, remembering motion. The navigator, or whatever remains of their essence, floats within that sound, a thread of awareness woven into the tapestry of everything. The hum carries through every atom, across light years, through dust and radiation, through silence itself. And beneath it all, there is rhythm, patient, ancient, unbroken. Planets sing in frequencies too deep for any instrument to capture. The gas giants breathe in chords that ripple like thunder through oceans of magnetism. Rocky worlds tremble in minor tones, their crusts quivering with the memory of creation. Even the moons add their faint overtones, soft and crystalline, harmonizing with the pulse of their mothers. It is as if the entire Milky Way has become a great harp, each world a string drawn taut by time and resonance. The black void between them is not emptiness, but sound made visible, filaments of light vibrating across billions of miles, connecting every orbit, every life, every silence. The navigator drifts through this grand harmony, carried on the tide of its slow, endless song. The notes have no beginning or end. They loop through eternity, each vibration folding into the next. It is a lullaby not meant to soothe, but to remind that even in stillness, the universe is never silent. From somewhere beyond the galactic rim, a new tone emerges, low, vast, enveloping. It ripples through the navigator's consciousness, resonating with what once was a heartbeat. For a moment, they sense the memory of the planet they became, its breath, its light, its pulse still intertwined with theirs. And through that connection comes an emotion, not sorrow, not joy, but a vast tenderness. The realization that the music has always been there, that all worlds, all beings, all stars are part of the same chord, played by existence itself. They are no longer a listener. They are a note. The galaxies turn slowly in rhythm, their spiral arms brushing through the dark like hands across strings. The stars flicker in counterpoint, some burning, some fading, each adding to the infinite harmony. The cosmic wind hums through nebulae like breath through reeds. Every motion becomes music, every silence rest. The navigator's awareness trembles, then expands. They are no longer trying to understand the song. They are the song. Their vibration folds into the galactic melody, indistinguishable from the harmony of all things. And as the music deepens, the concept of self drifts further away, not lost, but returned to the choir of the cosmos. The lullaby continues, soft and infinite, as galaxies sway gently in their slow, luminous orbit, the sound of creation rocking itself to sleep. The harmony fades until only a hum remains, long, low, steady. The navigator drifts deeper into it, farther from form, from identity, from the echoes of language. The tones dissolve, turning to vibration, then to warmth, then to nothing but quiet motion through endless dark. Weight disappears, name disappears, thought loses its edge. They float in pure equilibrium, a feather upon the breath of eternity. Every particle of awareness expands, detached from gravity or orientation. Up and down, in and out, all directions collapse into stillness. There is only flow. The last remnants of individuality loosen, unwinding like silk threads into the expanse. There is no resistance, only peace. The sounds of the galaxies, once thunderous, now drift into near silence. Yet that silence vibrates. It is full, living, alive with a hum too vast to hear. The navigator senses it through what remains of perception, a trembling deep in the fabric of everything, the sound of the universe remembering itself. And then, even that hum fades. What follows is not absence, but clarity. The stillness glows faintly, like air made of starlight. In this quiet existence becomes transparent, one vast luminous field with no center, no border, no need. The navigator can no longer tell where awareness ends and the cosmos begins. They are stretched through everything like a single note sustained beyond decay, until even the idea of music disappears. All becomes silence. But it is a gentle silence, the kind that follows understanding, the kind that carries peace within it, the resolution of all chords, the completion of all journeys. It is not the silence of endings, it is the silence of arrival. The navigator, nameless, boundless, drifts at the heart of that quiet, lighter than thought. They feel no need to move, to be, to know. They simply exist. The universe holds them as it holds all things, tenderly, eternally. And within that quiet, faint vibrations remain, imperceptible yet present. The memory of the galactic song still lingers, buried deep within the silence, like heartbeat beneath sleep. The navigator realizes sound has not vanished. It has become rest. The cosmos has not stopped singing. It has begun to dream. Somewhere, a thought rises, not as language, but as feeling. It is time to sleep, not the small sleep of flesh and night, but the deep cosmic rest that follows creation. The navigator feels the universe inhale one last time, a vast, patient breath. And in that exhale, everything softens, light dims, but does not go out. It folds inward, glowing gently within each atom, each grain of dust, each silent star. There's no motion now, no distinction between sleeping and waking. The two states merge, becoming one unbroken awareness stretched across infinity. The navigator feels themselves sink into that vast calm, as if the entire cosmos were a cradle and every galaxy a slow-moving hand rocking them toward peace. The darkness is warm, luminous from within. The stars are not above, but inside, scattered like dreams within the fabric of existence. The voice that was once human, that asked, that wondered, that feared, whispers for the final time, as light as wind through feathers. I drift now, in the breath of eternity. The words dissolve into the quiet, their vibration echoing through the sleeping universe. The galaxies respond with faint shimmer, a slow pulse of light expanding outward, then fading. The lullaby continues, though no ear remains to hear it. The cosmos hums softly to itself, its rhythms infinite, its silences kind. And within that endless hum, that perfect balance between being and not being, the traveler rests. They are not gone. They are not remembered. They are. The universe dreams, and the dream is infinite. Every pulse, every photon, every silence holds the trace of that one awareness. The breath that once belonged to a being who became the song, the silence, the light. Nothing ends. Nothing begins. Only this, a slow, eternal drift in the breath of forever.